is actually one that's like.
There is. They're pretty last one. If you want to scrimmage partner, I would. Yes. My favorite. Where that one exists.
for those of you who showed up to be a part of the book club today. Any gratitudes or victories? Rick?
Yesterday, being in our leadership group and actually going over to a place called Alcatraz. We were actually handcuffed in a room, bars, and we had to figure out how to get out and escape. And it was proof to me that as we worked, and we slayed it. We had 18 minutes to get, we had 18 minutes left to get out. We only had like 1 or 2 clues even given to us, but the team we were in, we slayed it. What it proved to me is how well our management team works together. And I'm extremely grateful for that. So.
I like that. That's a good analogy.
Yes.
Think about that. It was pretty fun. It was fun to see. We had a pretty good group though.
We did have a really good group.
We kind of had some competitive people, so.
Very.
We did a Alcatraz that's down in Draper. It's basically a mind game that you have to get out of these rooms, and so it's cool.
We did it really fast, and it was surprising how every person in the group added some level of escape to it. I mean, we worked together just like that. Boom, 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 boom.
So you did it together?
We did.
Yeah, you have 8 in a room.
8 of us.
So we were in death row, and then the other group was in a zombie room.
Apocalypse.
So it was cool.
So it was
They were screaming a lot.
Yes.
You all teamed together to figure
It
it
was
out.
a cerebral, ours was more cerebral than anything. We had to think and work together in order to escape. And the other one was kind of like a fear and flight, fight or flight type scenario, but they had to think to get out of it. Great place to actually go and take a family activity to, but for us it was just really a level of competency that was there was amazing, how we all worked together. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. It was awesome. Any other gratitudes or victories? You have a victory.
Oh, I called my SOI yesterday, one of them being my brothers, and he was like, yeah, but I want to sell, we've outgrown our house.
Wow.
Because he's always told me they're going to live there.
This is your brother?
Oh. So I've never brought it up.
Nice.
Isn't it nice to see your
him
sign there instead of somebody else's? I know it's
Right.
always a thing they're always talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a problem when mom lists with somebody else, huh?
That's it.
It's a problem when your neighbor's
gosh.
house goes up to sell by Remax.
Yes.
Yeah, that's an issue. That means I haven't been doing my job, right? Actually, I only know like one of my neighbors, that's probably. I get up before they do and I leave before they do, so. That's awesome.
Well, you have something to do.
Huh?
You have something to do, they don't.
Well, I don't know about that. I can't say that, but who's reading the book? Miss Steph? Good.
Well, it's because I finally got done with Grant Cardone's.
Good.
You know, I dragged through his book. It was good, but it wasn't great, but I'm going to pick and choose. But I feel like I'm really engaged with this.
Good.
Like he's talking to me.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's
So far.
an awesome book, right?
That's good.
Yeah.
I love it. I will even say myself, you guys, I've been to this event now 4 times because obviously for those of you who are going, Unleash the Power is in regards to this book. And I will tell you, even going through it, I mean, you can see I've dog-eared almost every page, and like you, Steph, I think it's so much more, I mean, having gone through it and now going back and reading the book again, I'm like, oh, this is what he meant. So you're
Okay,
even
so
having,
are his other books going to be just as important? Because I have the money one on my shelf that I had bought a long time ago, so.
like you with Grant Cardone, the money one's very hard for me. I'll be honest with you, because it's all about, well, I'm just not an
Okay, but
analytical,
Tony's
so- and
got
it's all about
another one,
numbers, so.
one in between, I can't remember what it was called.
He has quite a few, actually. This one, I would say is a really good one, and then he has one called, he has a relationship book, and it's really good as well. So those are I would say, are your 2 most crucial, right? Because this one's more or less breaking down you and finding out what your limiting beliefs are, the stories you're telling yourself, the words you're using that are habitual, that are limiting you, right? All of that kind of stuff. Where then the other one is all about relationships. And his thought process, and I'll just tell you this because I've gone through his whole mastery program now, and by far I will tell you, Date with Destiny was my favorite event and still is, and I've gone to it twice now. But that event is all about relationships, and it's actually Tony's favorite event, and that's why he's at it the whole time. And that one is, his belief is if you can focus on you and your relationships, everything else falls into place, right? In fact, I was listening to something of his this morning, and he said 90% of the success that you'll have in life is who you choose as your ultimate partner.
Is through your...
Who you choose as your ultimate partner. So who you're, yeah.
After 47 years, it's too late there.
So there's, it's, you know, it's a great event to go to.
That's funny.
You know this is taped, right?
I
know. It's a great one though. And it's, I mean, that whole thing, right? I mean, the event starts out as the relationship within you because it's continuing. So basically, Unleash the Power Within is a 4-day process of Date with Destiny, where Date with Destiny is let's dive deep for 6 days on each subject you talked about at UPW. So I always will say start at UPW, just because if you haven't been to something of his, it's very different. I'm grateful, I will say, for our environment, because I think you know, what we do in this morning meeting, it prepares you for that, right? Because I mean, you'll get there and you'll feel sometimes that you're at a rock concert and you're jumping up and down, you're hugging strangers and all that kind of stuff. So, but it's so fun. And then you go, I was actually saying, you know, the last time I went was at LA, and I went out and I just now have this perception that the people of LA are just jerks. Like, and like,
Thank you.
No, like I seriously was like, they don't open your doors, they don't say thank you, they don't talk to you. But then I realized, right, and
Before or after the seminar?
during and after, during and after, then I realized exactly what Tony's saying is I'm in a seminar where we're all very like-minded, right? It's so amazing how he can pull, I mean, now it's up to 15,000 people. He can pull that group together, and we all have, well, the same core value of growth, right? But also just looking to do better for ourselves. So then you go out into the real world and you're like, oh yes, this is what it's like. I forgot, you know? So it's a little bit different than, you know, what it's experienced. But real quickly is, as we're finishing up this book, you guys, if you haven't finished it, I mean, today's the last day of what we want to do, because we want to get on to the next one, which is what you say when you talk to yourself. So it actually goes in line with what we're kind of already reading. So I'm excited to hear it, read this. So Rob Oakey actually recommended it. So please come grab one and read with me, because I would love to have you guys be a part of it. But you know, these last few chapters, I have really learned to value what, you know, as I've gone through the processes with Tony. And it's so easy how we can actually, as George said yesterday, right, get out of the habit of things. I recently just hired a coach through Tony Robbins because I realized I have plenty of mentors in my business, right, but not somebody there to guide me and direct me in my personal life. And one of the things, even just last night, I was talking with her, is, you know, kind of what this book, the majority of the ending of this book talks about. And it's the words that we use. The words that we use, the stories we tell ourselves, right? The global statements of what society puts on us, those types of things. And I think that it's just interesting. In fact, in one of the chapters he's talking here is he says, the words you habitually choose will affect how you communicate with yourself and therefore what you experience. Right? And I think that's just key for us to remember. I mean, he goes on to say that our habitual words control our destiny, you know, the way that we allow it. And so there was a video that I had a chance to watch, and I wanted to share it with you because I think this really kind of explains it in what he's saying. But more or less, the words that we use, the people that we allow influence us, right, our society and what it's putting on us, the statements. It's very powerful to, you know, I mean, just, I'll tell you, one of the statements I said to her last night is like, she asked me a question, I said, you know, I don't know. She goes, don't say that, you know, right? And I was just like, oh, yeah. So how many, I mean, he asks in this book is how many words or statements do you say to yourself that are limiting you, right? I mean, I know the answer, and she was right. As soon as she says, don't say that, to, you know, answer. It was like, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, see, you know the answer. And I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. And so I think it's just powerful for us to understand. He says to consciously control our lives, we need to consciously evaluate and improve our consistent vocabulary and make sure that it is pulling us in the direction we desire instead of what we wish to avoid. Simply by changing our habitual vocabulary, the words you consistently use describe the emotions in your life. You can instantaneously change how you think, how you feel, and how you live. Right? I mean, as he's going through this, I think the biggest thing and the biggest reminder for me as I read this book is, and I actually posted something on it last week for those of you who want to go back and watch it. It was awesome. It's an hour, almost 2 hour video that he did though, and he more or less is talking about these very things. We can control our emotions, right? Our emotions, nobody gets to make us angry. It's us who controls our reaction, right? It's us who allows for somebody to upset us. It's us who allows the anger to come out or the emotions to come out. And so he's talking about just, I mean, throughout this is, you know, we truly can control our destiny by just paying attention to the words we use, the emotions we allow, right, and the things that take place. Any thoughts before we kind of watch this video? Rick?
Well, I've always stated that 10% is what happens to us, 90% is what we do with it. It's right in alignment with that.
Yeah.
The self-talk we tell ourselves deep seats itself in the subconscious mind, and that's what causes us to have this self-doubt, lack of self-worth, and it's the value we place on our abilities and what we do is based on the outcomes that we've been receiving, and that's total destruction because we're not happy with the outcome. So we have to start telling ourselves that we do well. We love to help people, we love to prospect, we love to, you know, do these things that we desire to do, and that we're good at it.
Absolutely. Tony?
I've been told that what I reflexively say to myself quietly in private moments is the most deep-seated form of law of attraction there is for me.
Yeah.
So if it's negative, it's really deep. It's positive, it's really deep.
Well, that's interesting you bring that up, Tony, because he'll talk about that, right? And this video, it was interesting because he basically says a lot of our negative emotions are deeply seated or have came from our childhood or something that has happened to us in the past where we've held on to that emotion and we haven't let go, so then we continue to carry that through the rest of our experiences in life, right? And he even talks about why we hold on to it still and how it benefits and how it encourages. I love what you guys are saying is, Rick, in fact, you guys have heard me say this over and over again, right? My favorite quote from Tony is, life happens for me, not to me.
Yep.
And the biggest thing, I'm going to get emotional, I didn't expect that. But I think your habitual habits, like George talked about, getting back on track on some of those myself. But this book, the biggest reminder of that is just what you're saying, and I think is that we got to understand that life is happening for us, not to us.
I love that.
And whether it's good or bad, it's happening for a reason, right? And one of my favorite things, and he even says it in here, is if an assemblage of words you're using and creating states that disempowers you, get rid of those words and replace them with those that empower you. More or less, we have the choice to allow it to discourage us, and we have the choice to allow it to empower us. It's up to you, and it really is, right? Your circumstances are, or as you'll always hear George say, Mike say, you are where you are because you chose to be there, right? Whether if you don't like it, make new decisions, use different
your
words, change your statements that you're saying to yourself, right? So this one's it might be a few minutes, but I think it's worth watching for those of you who can stay for it.
You have this amazing power to move people, not just to think but to feel. When did you realize you had the ability to do that?
I think everybody has the ability to feel, right? You know, that wasn't a great gift. I think I just feel so much, and I feel so much what people feel. When my youngest son, I remember when I was really young, even came in, and his friends would watch my dad watch this movie, and I'd be like, you know, don't open the door. I just can't help myself. I feel what they feel. And so that produced a lot of drive in me to help people when they're in pain, because I feel their pain. And even when I was a little kid, I mean, my mom reminded me when I was like 4 years old in this backyard, and there was a woman next door I used to call young lady, and she was 80 years old. But, you know, seeing her light up when I called her young lady, I got hooked on it 4 or 5 years old. So I love that, and because I'm driven to that, my lifetime has been about how to help people achieve what they want, break through, discover things. And you'd be an idiot if you spend 3 or 4 decades, in my case it's been 3.5 decades now, you know, being obsessed about that. And then I think we're worried all the time, because people are incredibly generous. When they feel like you've touched their life, they send out a lot of love, and I'm a love bug, so I got hooked on that at a very early stage of life, and I still am.
You specialize in a lot of different areas: health, business, politics, sports, all kinds of areas. Of all the areas, what's the most challenging to move people to be active in their own rescue?
It's a great term, active in their own rescue. You and I both have some history with that one, right. Going down the Colorado River, it's a whole other story. Everybody has their hooks. Everybody's different, Peter. You know, some people, yeah, it's their business, their finances. You know, if that gets hooked, it's like their identity is tied to that. For other people, it's their body. They just feel like it's impossible. They can't change anything. They've gone and learned helplessness, where they just have literally learned that they're helpless. They can't do anything about it because they failed so often. But if I had to pick one that probably is most fraught for people overall, it's really intimate love and romance, because you can control your business to some extent because you control you. You can control your finances to some extent, right, by your choices. But you can do everything you want to do in an intimate relationship, and it can still blow up in your face because you can't control another human being, and if you could, you have no relationship. So, and I also think that if there's a story that all human beings have, it's the story of fear. We all have what we're after, but everybody has fears. And I've been with, 4 million people now from 100 countries over these, 33, 34 years I've been involved with people now, and I can tell you all roads lead to Rome. Whatever you're afraid of failing or succeeding or whatever the case may be, it really comes down to a fear that we're not enough. And if we fear we're not enough, our ultimate fear is if we're not enough, we won't be loved. Who can produce that fear in you more than somebody whose love you crave? Somebody that you really want them, and they all of a sudden don't love you as much anymore? It crushes the soul. So most people have these plans like, I'll be successful, and then I'll know I'm enough regardless of what someone else does to me. Or, I'll be strong enough or physically beautiful enough. But, of course, all those things are relative and none of them last. So getting people to have the courage and the faith to realize there is no security in life, and there's no security in relationship. There's only what you can contribute. There's only what you can create. And getting people to that place is not an easy thing to do. But when they do it, it opens up a whole new universe, because when someone's in love, what's wrong with your life? Nothing, It's a beautiful morning, doesn't matter, you're silly as hell. But when they don't have that love in their life and everything else is going well, they still come to that empty place inside at the end, and that's the place where the most successful people on earth that have been clients of mine, everybody thinks is so incredible, that's where they're lonely still very often, and that's the area that you gotta really dig in and help someone.
Do they usually have a story that happens to them very young, which is kind of a backstory, a seminal element that is still present in them 10, 20, 30 years later, and preventing them from exercising those talents?
Well, nothing's preventing them, but they choose to go back to that story, right? Because how many stories do we have in our lives? But we have certain seminal ones that have so much emotion wrapped up into them, so much pain, so much hurt, or so much excitement that they shape us, and everybody's got those. I always say, change your story, change your life. Because whatever your story is becomes the shaper of all your perceptions, what you're going to try or not try, do or not do. The problem is most people are so addicted to telling that same story over again, it does become their prison. And so the answer is yes. I think the oldest story is that all of us were loved unconditionally when we were born. You know that even if you thought you had the worst mother in the world, because, if a baby doesn't have someone willing to love them, that means take care of them above their own needs. There's no rewards for a mother. Ooh, or ah, for all that stuff. For a father, ooh and ah. We feel it because we're on drugs. We got oxytocin in our body. Sometimes a woman's pregnant or a father's there and he sees this child, that biochemistry changes in us and we love that thing even though it looks like a lizard, right? It doesn't matter. It's our kid. So, but that doesn't last forever. There's a stage in your life where you could yell, scream, throw stuff, smack people, and you still were taken care of in love. But then there's a day when that oxytocin wears off. And suddenly somebody yells at you or hits you or even worse, ignores you. And that's the moment when the ultimate story is, what do I do to get that attention back? What do I do to get that love? And so some people, you know, they suddenly try to crawl or walk, and everybody goes, look, Johnny's walking, and the story is, I'm an achiever. I do things so I'm significant enough to get attention and love. Some people break stuff and people come, and they learn, if I destroy stuff, that's my story, then I'll get unconsciously this love. Some people, you know, they make some noise and everybody laughs, and make some noise, and a comedian's born. So that story, that experience, becomes the story of what I've got to do when I feel uncertain that I'm significant enough to be worthy of attention and love in this life. And I'm oversimplifying it, obviously, because we've had a lot of series of stories in our life. But if we can go back and reclaim who we are today instead of living an old story, everything in your life changes, and that's a part of what I do.
I recall the President of the United States calling you. Remember when you were going to see Princess Diana, Mikhail Gorbachev, all these people, extremely successful, extremely talented. Did they all have backstories that ran them? Did they all have some element in them, despite their success, that was still in the back of their head, still telling them, you're not good enough, you are good enough, or some element of their life that wasn't working because of that?
Well, I don't always get the call because somebody's got, you know, some emotional problem or challenge. You know, when the president called, he gave me a lot of crap for what I said to him at the time, which was, I said something like, you know, I'm really appreciative of your calling, but I'm not a fan at that stage. So if you still want to hear from me, I'd love to come and do some coaching with you. So I was rather direct with him. But no, everybody's got parts of their life that shape the way they look at today and how they behave today. Everybody does. Everybody has a backstory, multiple backstories. The question is, which one's running you now? But what I'd say the common backstory for the successful people is hunger. Something produced drive in them. If you say, what's the difference in human beings and how they perform and how they show up, it's not intelligence or ability. You can find somebody with plenty of intelligence and ability and they don't maximize. They can't fight their way out of a paper bag. And then you find this other person that finds this hunger inside. You have it, I have it. Almost anyone you know who has done something they're proud of in their life, or they feel good about in their life, they had to get through all the obstacles. They had to get through their own limiting stories, and so there had to be something they wanted more. That hunger often comes from a story of frustration or pain or desire. And finding that touchstone and igniting it is how you often can take somebody who's not driven and hungry and really help them to change their life.
Do you think that people are empowered when they hear that somebody of that high stature also has some of those same problems and some of those backstories that are handicapped?
It's a great question. Some people are. Some people use it as a reason to hang on to their old story. Right? Because they go, well, if Bill Clinton has that experience, you know, if Tony Robbins has that experience, then what the heck am I going to do? And that's part of the challenges. It's like, I remember one time, it was fascinating. My own sister, something was going on, it was challenging and everything else. I said, you know, how come you didn't call me? And she goes, well, because you're Tony Robbins. She goes, well, you can handle it. You know, I was going through a really rough situation. I had so much reason with my boys. You know, my son Josh one time, he says, well, Dad, you're Tony Robbins, right? People make up this story because they don't know the real backstory. You know, you and I know each other's backstories. You and I know that we didn't just show up this way. We've had a lot of gifts in our life, but we've paid the price to do it, and we've found a way to add value throughout life, and that's why we have the privilege to be here. But if you start thinking that everybody's messed up, then it gives you an excuse to stay messed up. Versus my view is, let me tell you what these people overcame to be where they are. That's what I'm more interested in, so that you and I have something to aspire to. Because stories will either give you some form of aspiration, some inspiration, or they give you an excuse to stay where you are, or even make it worse.
When I see you on stage or on television or in any interviews, you're always on purpose, full of enthusiasm, full of appreciation for the gifts. Was there anything that you were insecure about when you were growing up that you felt, oh my God, this could cripple me, or it was something that you didn't
How many of them do we want? myself here, I have trained myself with certainty, not just with stories, by focusing on when I did succeed and building those stories, but honestly by building into my body that certainty physically, like driving it in myself. I had so many fears. I mean, I had minestrone soup acne on my face in high school. I didn't feel attractive. I was 5'1" my sophomore year in high school.
That's a scary thought.
Isn't it?
That's a scary
thought. I grew 10 inches in a year.
Well, the guy that met you a year later, that's a scary thought too.
Well, what's a scary thought? I was looking when I found out, I had a tumor that made me grow like that, and I had no idea. So, you go from 5'1" to 6 foot, 6'2", now 6'7". People say, what's the difference? I always say personal growth. But it wasn't all personal growth, right? I mean, like, not only physically going through, but what I went through mentally and emotionally to make that happen. And so I was the little guy. I wasn't that strong. I had quite a mouth. I wouldn't take squat from anybody. And like, senior guy come to me and get in my face. But I had a mouth I wouldn't take it, but I was slow and not that strong. Not a good combination, right? But I overcame it mostly by saying, in the end, if I find a way to add enough value to somebody else's life, and I'm totally sincere and raw, they may doubt it all they want, but if I do that for year after year, decade after decade, eventually I'm going to get through to them. And my life has kind of panned that out, because a large number of people, millions of people I've been able to serve that way, many of which have thought, oh, who's this idiot, this motivator, the big-toothed guy. But then they see me work my guts out for someone and really create results day after day, year after year, and they start to go, maybe the guy's, the real thing. That's, people get to judge that by results rather than by discussion.
I did that. Yeah. I did that. I told you my story that I saw your stuff and I thought, oh my God. And I saw it another time. Then finally, one vulnerable moment, I bit.
And that's when it was vulnerable.
That's right. It was very vulnerable. You bit.
Yes, yes.
So when you need, that's when you need. You know. And so, yeah, I do think that's true. The interesting element is that sharing the fact that you weren't, perfect and born that way, and you were ready, you're ready to go from the go, is important, because I think most people don't realize that they have the ability to tell a different story to transform themselves.
Well, the best way is not for me to tell my story. That's self-inflation. That's not my goal. My goal, as I think is to show people actually making that change happen. When I do a film and you see this person stand up and they're suicidal, and then you watch them turn around, and then the people do the follow-up 3 years later, 5 years later, and you see this person's life still changed. When people see that over and over again, or they see relationships come together that are ending, or they see guys that were struggling in business and now the guy is so successful, and they saw the moment it happened, and they see the follow-up, and they hear from the guy, then it starts to penetrate people that there's no free lunch, but there's some strategies that can accelerate your growth massively, and your sense of fulfillment, your sense of enjoyment, because if you succeed, but you're not fulfilled, you failed. So those are the two missions that I'm trying to do, not so much with my story, but with thousands, actually millions now, stories of other people.
Well, as a storyteller, one of the magic things that I watched you in the audience that I learned from you was that you're a great story listener. In other words, the idea is that you don't just hear people, you get people. And when people feel that they're gotten, that they're really heard in that unique way, empathetically, they engage in a different way.
Yeah.
Is that a talent that you learned, or you just felt you had, or did you really work on it, or is it something that you perceived? And how important is that skill in creating a relationship that is successful?
Well, I'll answer your last question last. A lot of questions there. How important is it to be able to really listen? I mean, I think communication is hearing what's not being said. And if you don't have that, and all you do is take the words, you're going to have a disastrous intimate relationship. You're going to probably have some really disastrous business relationships, because most people don't speak what they're really feeling or saying most of the time. They're either scared to, afraid to, or they're hiding their agenda because they have another agenda. And most of us have a pretty big BS filter in the world we live in today. But it's more than that. It's not saying, what are they BSing me? It's saying, what are they really feeling? What's underneath this? What's really going on? And that's really important to me. I don't care how big the audience is. I was, I did 30,000 person audiences. One of the oversized audience I did yesterday was like less than 3,000 people in Las Vegas. It was Salesforce.com. It's a business group. This long room, as far as you can see, over there at the Wynn Hotel. And I'm on big screens, and there's guys running back. How do you get back? I get off the stage, and I'm proud. I walk through the crowd. I'm there and talking, because what I want to do is I want to look in your eyes, and I want to feel what's going on, see it. I want you to know that I'm not somebody over on the stage who's just talking at you. I want to engage you, and there's only one moment I can strike and have that conversation. And so it produces a different energy in that room. It's not some passive listening, and it's not with the eyes. The minute they speak, I'm not zooming in on what they're feeling and emotionally. also saying, who else does this relate to in the room? How can I use their story to help other people simultaneously? So if you ask me, the listening part is better than the storytelling part. You can entertain people as a storyteller, but you can transform people if you can really understand what their needs are, listen, and sometimes just by listening alone, people's lives can change.
When you're on stage, or when you're coaching people directly, how important is it to really be interested in who you're talking with, as opposed to being interesting in telling the story?
I think that was, anybody who's honest knows the answer to that question, right? But knowing the answer and behaving that way, that's a big difference, right? We all know that if you're interesting, you might have a relationship that's on the surface, but if you're interested, you're going to go deep. Because you're going to follow up and ask questions, and the person is not just going to feel gotten or some fancy term, they're going to feel that real connection that's happening. Because we live in a world where there's so little raw reality. Reality television, we all know, is bullshit, right? So what is real anymore? And most people are so good at presenting that I think most people, they'd rather see you screw up. They'd rather see a presentation that's not as refined, so that there's something that's real underneath it. But I think if you're interested in them, you have to work on the presentation side because people can see the start-stops that are really real, and more importantly, they'll feel that connection with you. So, you know, your whole thesis in life is understanding that the story is what drives everything in life. It's what drives the influence of another human being. But the understanding of that person's story is more important than your ability to formulate your story. That's why I think in your book, one of the most valuable things, Peter, is the backstory. Because sometimes you can find that backstory in advance, sometimes you can't.
Right.
But if you're watching and listening and asking questions, the backstory will show up right in front of your eyes if you're engaged with that person. If you got some rehearsed little talk you're going to do, you're going to be in your head instead of being here. I call it uptime. If you're in uptime, I know you. Now to do that, I have to know enough things and have a large enough bank account of things I've investigated or I understand or I've talked about, that I don't have to worry about what I'm going to say. I've got so many, you've got so many life experiences that I have a good idea what I want to talk about, but then when we get here, it changes. When I was at this seminar the other day, I had this whole thing I designed, and I'm nuts. I think things through, I design it, and I never do what I design. My team is the big joke.
You drop the script.
I drop the script because when I step out there, I'm here and go, nope, that's not what's needed right now. And that's also why I'm never bored. I would be bored out of my mind. I was 34 years doing this stuff, and I was doing the same stuff. I've got pieces I know work, stories or examples, and I'm not even planning to use it, but when I get out there, I can see, nope, it's something else. And so it becomes art and alive, instead of something boring. You've got to take the recorder otherwise in this business, right?
Well, you know, it's great. She said the whole thing. You have to prepare ferociously. And then you're going to drop your script. Because you want the spontaneity, you want the aliveness, you want the eccentricity of things happening.
Yeah.
But when you see somebody telling their story and you're decoding it, or they're a business person, if they're not authentic, does it shine through no matter what they say?
Well, I'd love to say yes, but I know I've gotten the wool pulled over my eyes, so that would be a lie. But I would say most of the time at this stage of my life, I'm pretty good at that. And I think most of us are. Only because unfortunately, we've all been disappointed so many times that we have a little part of ourselves that's like, it's all BS. And unfortunately, that can become a filter to you not actually seeing somebody, experiencing somebody, because you have all your presuppositions, right, that are running your life instead of being here now. But I'm a little bit more trusting, so I'd probably stay with it a bit longer. And I've had so many people, you know, make up a story about me and never met me, because I also my style. I talk rapidly, and that's just me. I'm passionate. You know, you and I get together, it's like bam, 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 bam. You know, other people stand around and watch the two of us. We go have lunch, or we go to the house, or go skiing, or whatever. And so I love that. I love the speed of our interaction because my brain works so fast. So some people don't trust that. It's fast-talking salesman is their metaphor for it, as opposed to a passionate son about something. You know, which is what I really am.
You're an authentic son of a bitch. I love you. Thanks a lot.
Love you so much, Steve.
Thoughts to that?
Profound.
Just a lot of good takeaways.
There are a lot of good takeaways, huh?
I like what he said, that people want reality, even if it's not exciting.
Yeah.
They want the truth.
I like to think about how you're going to self-rescue. Pretty profound thought. I mean, because we know ourselves better than anybody. We know our thoughts, feelings, and results, and how are we wallowing or moving forward in those things. So it's pretty fascinating. I think it's a profound thought.
Wow. I love that, and I love to agree what you're saying. One of my things is truth is what truth is to the individual, right? Their reality is what reality is to them. I would encourage you and I would challenge you guys to find what stories that are limiting you, what stories from your childhood, your past. I don't know why I feel inclined to share this with you guys, but hopefully you'll take it in. But there was an event that happened in my life when I was at a Tony Robbins event, and he has you go through this meditation where you actually find it out. And again, why I would encourage you guys to go to all this, because it really starts, I mean, UPW really starts with just the talk, you're talking to yourself. But at Date with Destiny, I had an experience where I got to go into a meditation with him, and he takes you through your youngest childhood memory. And I had a limiting belief that I've been holding on to since I was in the womb of my mother's stomach. And I was a twin, and my twin didn't make it. So I had a limiting belief my whole life that I could take on the world by myself. I didn't need anybody else, right? Everybody eventually was going to leave me. I had all these limiting beliefs that were really holding me back, but also driving me in a lot of ways. So exactly what Tony was talking about, sometimes we use that excuse when you hear success of other individuals to hold on to those things as well, but there were a lot of limiting things that had stopped me in. And I would just encourage you guys to really dig deep, take some time to ask yourself some questions, and find out what stories are you telling yourself, what statements are you using that are holding you back from success. I will tell you, my life has transformed since that 3-year period of time. And obviously still get choked up about it, because even sometimes, like I said, if you're not consciously paying attention to it, how easy it is to come back into your cycle. So I would challenge you guys today, think about your experiences, but also encourage you guys to get involved and go to the event. It's life-changing for sure. So, and obviously there's local things if you guys can't afford to do the travel. I know Tony can speak to some of those, and he's been to some local things, so get involved. Growth, right? One of my favorite things he said, change your story, change your life. But the way you're going to do that is through growth and contribution. So get outside yourself. Okay, let's do closing affirmations. I succeed because I act my goals. I am optimist. I like opportunity. I remember people needs. I have a daily plan that I talk with. And talk about something. I know I can do my great goal. I like out of my ability. I enjoy the contribute myself. My positive, I like to talk to goals. I focus on community. My presentation is powerful. I am free my skill set. I am happy. I love prospecting to be my business. I try to be possible. I love it. I am grateful to you. I control my thinking. I believe in me. I feel outstanding. I use my beliefs not to be it. I can make it well. I try to be preserved. I like motivation. I connect people. People love me. I love others. I live with capital day schedule. I prospect daily. I set appointments daily. I am a master persuader. I achieve my goals. I'm a real estate rock star. I have a passion of my life. I literally do purpose. I'm confident in myself. I know I am brilliant. I am healthily strong. I am powerful. I'm a strong. I keep God excited. Thanks for staying, you guys.
Rock and roll.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here for us.
Absolutely.
Can I steal a book?
Please do.
That one? Okay.
How do we stop this, Rick?
Just hit the exit. And